Welcome to a new video called The Best Trends in Modern Cars. And this is a follow-up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This is a follow-up to a extremely successful video we did called The Worst Trends with Modern Cars. Now, it's only fair we talk about the positives. If you stop and think about it, cars now are better than they were 10 years ago.
Yes, and it's so easy to nitpick all the negative things, and you get into that zone, it's better to talk about some of the good stuff. So let's get right into it. All right, before we get started, Jack, there will be no buts in this video.
Yeah, we're not here to play devil's advocate.
Every single topic we're going to talk about has some type of counterpoint, and this is going to be positive, so we're not going there.
Oh, we'll attempt to be positive.
Yes, okay. The first thing you wanted to jump into was
ponies, horsepower.
Performance, and this is a huge pro to modern vehicles.
Horsepower, performance, whatever you want to call it, is far more accessible now than it was 10, 15 years ago.
15 years ago, if you had a 700 horsepower car, chances are you'd be dead driving it. And a lot of that has to do with how much more advanced ECUs have gotten. They're cheaper. You can have multiple sensors, ECUs, that control the driving experience, which means they're fast to respond.
Stability control, traction control now works seamlessly with the driver. If you're in a modern vet, the drive modes work with the driver in unison to make sure he, A, looks like a hero when he's driving, and B, doesn't die in a 650 horsepower car.
Right, which means normal people can drive these and enjoy these cars like regular vehicles. You no longer have to have a high driving skill to pound them around a track, and you've seen that. The next item on our list is scalding hot, and that is because this is one of the biggest ones. Major improvements in body structure and manufacturing.
You're going to take me to Flavortown, aren't you?
I am.
So when it comes to it, advanced alloys and composites are now available to the masses. You can get aluminum body panels in Mustangs, Honda Civics. You can get carbon fiber in cars that now cost less than $100,000. It's readily accessible, and there are no negatives.
That's the big point of this. What you're getting is the level of solidity, you're getting safety, you're getting performance, you're getting better fuel efficiency, less drag. There's so many benefits to all these materials, and then when you go to the underbody of the car, this is where you really start to see it. You're having a heavy use of body adhesives and structural adhesives that not only quiet the cars down, they feel better, more solid, more substantial.
Cars now have way less NVH than they've had in years past.
And that's great for people that want a quiet, refined experience. Like some of these cars I get into in the cheap price point are unbelievable how refined they are for like $20,000. That was not possible like 10, 15 years ago. The next item on the docket is critical.
Tires, one of the most important parts of your car.
In the past few months, I haven't shredded this much rubber since prom 10 years ago.
I bet you looked real premium with your skullet.
That's what got me in. Now, on to tires, and that is, like everything else we're talking about, it's gotten so much better. From performance applications to the car that you putt around every day, they last longer, you have better wet and dry grip, they're cheaper. For the economy cars, you have low rolling resistance tires that used to not be that good, and now they will last forever. The ride compromise isn't as bad, and then performance.
Performance cars now, you can get well over a G in a street car, and that's largely due to tires.
Yeah, and the performance tires are pretty nuts.
Oh, they're incredible.
I mean, they're basically almost like race compound with the way that all these formulations have changed. So
200 treadwear tires now are basically like an R-Comp.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun time for tires.
The next topic to cover is one with literally no drawbacks: safety. Cars now are safer than they were 25 years ago.
You're not kidding. And I'm going to tell you a little anecdote. I drive a 98 Civic, and a lot of it is because it's simple, it's lightweight, and it's never going to break. That is, unless I get in an accident, and I will get absolutely murdered. Side collision, no side airbags, frontal offset, and that's a big risk that you don't have to face in modern vehicles.
Not to mention now in modern cars, there are systems in place, electronic systems that will save you, or at least attempt to save you in an accident. You have frontal collision warning, you have lane keep assist, you have drowsiness alerts, you have backup cameras so you don't have to run over your little kid.
Right.
There are no drawbacks to that.
And there really aren't. And we could cover them, but for the most part, it's doing its job. And government agencies like NHTSA and all along the world, they're crash testing cars in a more realistic setting now. And the improvement is huge.
Plain and simple, people are surviving car accidents now that they would not have survived 25 years ago. The next big improvement in cars is ergonomics.
I don't like you using big words. What is that?
Ergonomics is how you interact with a car. It's where your ass is, where the steering wheel is, where the controls are. It's how you interact with your machine.
So there's been some major improvements in that.
Yeah, when you sit in a car, it doesn't feel like you're sitting in an Iron Maiden anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And I think seating surfaces and seat design has been changed dramatically. And you see companies like Nissan have been working with orthopedic doctors and their design and contouring of the seat to reduce leg and hip and back strain. And that's really cool, honestly. And you get in these seats, you're like, holy Christ, I could literally drive this thing all day.
It doesn't matter what kind of body you have. You can be thick with 3 C's and a Q, or you can have a 14-year-old boy body, and you can fit in most cars now.
Yeah, and when you get in cars that are like 20 grand, it's no longer, you don't feel horrible, like you're sitting in like a school desk from 1964. So again, ergonomics, the ease of use, the way that you interact with things and materials, they're a lot better than they are despite a lot of the addition of technology. I hope you're not falling asleep because the next topic is something people pound their chests over: fuel economy and emission standards.
God save the platypus.
I don't know what that means. But I can tell you what I'm thinking, and that is most people like to bag on government about getting involved in industry. And in this case, without a lot of these government regulation and standards, manufacturers wouldn't have had the big incentives to push themselves in terms of innovation. And you have much more efficient engine designs. You have better transmission designs, and the side effect is better fuel economy, less emissions overall, and that does help people on a larger scale, not just the individual.
Even from an enthusiast standpoint, you can now have a 400 horsepower car that gets in the mid-20s.
So that's something that we didn't have a long time ago, and it's nice to see, as much as there's some difficulty with me swallowing it, I like the fact that I can get an eco car that gets great fuel efficiency and even a bigger car. So they've done a good job.
I know this next topic's a real big hemorrhoid causer for you.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Car technology.
Oh boy, that's one of my favorites to rant about, but not today, Jack.
No, I mean, we can't deny the fact that the improvements in car technology has dramatically improved the experience behind driving. Take headlights. 5-10 years ago, headlights were like candles in jam jars, and now you can actually see things.
Yeah, and you're not kidding. And a lot of it has to do with the optics of headlights are better and the technology behind them. A lot of the LED systems not only self-level, but they are tied to sensors in the car. When you turn the wheel, they will slightly angle to light up the corner. And of course, it's more cheap now to manufacture that. It's a huge safety system as well.
Now you can see Bambi before you hit her.
Yeah, I wouldn't hit Bambi. I'm not that type of guy. Okay.
The next big improvement is car audio. Manufacturers are now designing their systems like the car is a soundstage. Companies like Oro are building 3D EQ systems for their cars.
And it's really crazy because even the cheap cars I get into, like there's not an audio system you're like, this is absolute shit, I gotta get rid of it. You got heated and cooled seats even in cheaper cars.
Yeah, the HVAC systems in cars now are incredible. Before it was like, Russian gulag versus Turkish prison, right? I mean, neither were exactly preferable. Now cars are amazing. Hell, Michigan Man in your Lincoln will massage your ass with the massaging seats.
That's what I need. I don't have to have you do that for me anymore. Oh, I bet you wished we were done talking about technology. But no, the next one is over-the-air updates.
So for the uninitiated, why is that important?
Well, it's important because when you get inside your best-in-class vehicle, there's something called telematics inside now in most cars. What is that? It's basically a glorified cell phone modem that connects your vehicle to the internet.
And in theory, that saves you a trip to the dealer.
It does, and it saves you a trip to the dealer because your vehicle is now mostly software driven. Companies like Tesla can connect to your car and update things like braking performance, steering feel, and all of the electronic components of the car. Even Honda is committed to over-the-air updates now in their new Accord. They can update your infotainment if it's out of date or if there's bugs. So
This is the trend in the industry.
yeah, it is, and most cars are going to this.
Now we're on to the final topic in our best trends video,
Oh, what's that?
electronic tunability.
Oh God, more electronics crap, really?
When it comes to cars now, cars are a lot like suits. They can be tailored to you, and that's because of all the electronic systems. Steering can be tailored to you, throttle response, horsepower output, traction control, stability control, various different driving settings.
Yes, and as more systems become more computer controlled or software controlled, this is the way of the future. And you look at some of these modern cars, when you plug a scan tool in, some of them have up to 60 ECUs. ECUs that control shifting, shifters, windows, moonroofs, and things like brakes or brake pedals are now not connected to anything. They're all brake by wire. There's steering by wire, throttle by wire. And when you don't have a mechanical system for that, it's all controlled through algorithms or software. So the ability to tune these is far greater than it used to be. And there's some huge benefits to doing that. And like you said, a lot of it is tailoring it. A lot of it is being able to make the cars more unique, where they're not all cookie cutter. Now, of course, there's huge pros and cons to this. But again,
One of the pros is also the aftermarket. A lot of people complain that, oh, cars are so complicated now. 25 years ago, you can just plug in a tuner,
right.
have an e-tune sent to you, and have your car run like stock and produce more horsepower.
Yeah, there's huge advantages, namely to the aftermarket. But I think the big pro to the regular person is now if a car has a serious problem from the factory, like we just talked about with over-the-air updates, some of these things can just be fixed by plugging in a cable or wirelessly updating your vehicle. And it's kind of scary for some people, but let's be real, it's pretty cool. It's pretty kick-ass.
It can also even help the mechanics.
Yeah.
It's now easier to service or diagnose what's wrong with your car. It's no longer a guess and check like it's been in the past.
Yeah, and some of it is off the mechanics to do some of the engineering work to fix this crap. They're just kind of like, okay, give me an update from engineering or I can't fix it. So, I mean, again, this whole list, there's pros and cons. And the big thing is we like to talk about that. But I really appreciate you guys checking this video out. We're glad to bring the positives in because a big thank you to the manufacturers, to some of the government agencies, to a lot of the people that make all of this possible. As much as it's fun to trash it, it's also fun to acknowledge it and celebrate it.
Cars are better now than they used to be.
Yeah, bottom line. See you next video.
This savage geese, I hate him, I hate him. I'm gonna show you how to get back at him on Yelp and all that other stuff.
Nice clock. I hope you complained about that.
Oh, it's a Porsche.